Good evening, everyone. We're back with our favorite author here, Akila Todd, the author of Date Smart and the wonderful workbook that we have here. And we're here to discuss chapter 8 tonight. And it's dealing with transformation. Actually, it's called Confrontation, Transforming Disrespect to Respect. So as we go through chapter 8, you talk about transformation. When does transformation take place relative to teaching a man to respect us as daughters of God?
Excellent question. Transformation and teaching a man how to respect daughters of God. Excellent question. In that first, we must realize as daughters of God that we deserve respect, that we have self-value and self-worth, and that's a biblical principle of respect.
Right.
So to ask for that, because in understanding that it may require us to guide him and direct him to respect us. What does that look like? What are we asking for? What do we want? Because every man was not, when he was young, given the instructions on how to respect a daughter of God. So we could play a major role in getting and asking for the respect we would like.
Right.
So I would employ daughters out there to just have the conversation with your guy on what is respect for you and explain that to him.
Okay, so relative to disrespect, what are some examples of when to let go? And what are some biblical principles that a woman can apply to feel confident in her decision to depart, to let this relationship go?
Okay. When to let go? I would say, first of all, the Bible is a wonderful book and there's a lot of guidance in there. A lot of God's word giving to us to get us where we should be from the Father. Okay? That's our example. In the same way that a lot of communicating. He told me some things I didn't do at first. I didn't do the second time or the third time. He had patience with me. He saw something in me. He saw my potential, and God worked with me. And maybe not for you. I know you probably get things on the first and second time, but not this daughter.
I've learned the hard way.
Yes, me too. And so if we could have that patience and mercy and grace with each other, and like we talked about in the last chapter, seeing him as a brother and not a mate, then maybe we won't be so spiteful or judgmental. We could show a little more mercy and have a conversation, because it's like, I'm not fearing losing you. I'm going to tell you what I need to tell you. I'm good at having this conversation because I see you as my brother. Until it grows to a point that it develops into more. So
what were some of the disrespectful behaviors that you saw in, I think in prior chapters we talked about Charles.
Okay.
What were some of the things that he did and finally you just said, okay, I've had enough?
Okay, so disrespectful behavior, and this could be from, anyone I've dated in the past that I see often, is maybe he's with me, and a beautiful lady comes in the room, and God made her beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with him looking. But do you have to stare and break your neck? And I mean, okay, I even remember being in church one time, and it was a big booty right there, and I'm like, he could not look at the pastor for looking at and so my thing is, look, but don't stare, because that is disrespect. She is beautiful. The butt was a banging booty, but don't let's not disrespect each other. I don't think he would want me to do that to you.
Exactly.
So, but if I have a problem with it, and like Matthew 18:15 says, if you have an ought or a fault with your brother, go to your brother and have a conversation. So we've got to talk, daughters of God, not just be mad, not go to my friends and say, girl, that's what he did. So disrespectful behavior could be a number of things, and it's different with each person.
Exactly.
You may have run across something disrespectful. Say, for instance, you're having dinner with your parents, you invite him, and he's on his phone the entire time.
Oh, yes.
You could consider that disrespectful.
Oh, yes, definitely.
But say, babe, can you put the phone down while we have dinner,
Yes.
at least in conversation with my parents, And so that's what you do to see if there's a chance of improvement and growth. So
Okay. So after experiencing such an emotionally taxing relationship, when a relationship is very tumultuous and it's just emotionally draining on a person, how does one open themselves up again when the pain is so very present?
that is an excellent question. After being hurt, how do you open yourself up again? And I'm going to say you learn from what you went through. So often we don't learn the lessons, the biblical principles, how boundaries, how to protect ourselves, how to communicate, and we go back out there and then we repeat that same ignorance in our relationship. Not knowing. That's why we got to read. We've got to get back to reading the word, reading books, reading how to relate to each other, how to communicate, problem solve, respect each other.
Yes, I agree.
We've got to learn. So instead of seeing that relationship as a bad experience, and yes, you were hurt, and that's understandable. I was hurt. But what God did, He turned my hurt around to a ministry.
Amen.
Because I learned so much. And then He said, share that, the hurt and all, everything you learn, because my daughters need to learn.
It became your testimony.
It became my testimony. And the good place I'm now, I would prescribe that for everyone, but that was obeying God, knowing Him, having a relationship with Him, reading His Word, and then writing down my experience, which is relevant and very relatable for today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that'll end our session for chapter 8. But before we end, as always, Akila, would you like to give some takeaways?
Well, my takeaway for this chapter would be when looking for a guide. It talks about in Samuel how God was going to anoint a king, and Samuel in the book of Samuel went out to find that one that God wanted to anoint.
Right.
This is a teachable lesson. This is maybe, I don't know what you looked for before, but when Samuel went to the house of King David's father, I don't remember what the daddy's name was, but he said, surely this son is the one. He was tall, he was handsome.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my goodness.
Yes.
And we could be the same way. Oh, but he is tall, he is handsome, he drives a BMW. And that is not the one God wants you to anoint, daughter of God. Don't anoint that one. Don't anoint him. Don't get him your oil. Don't put your oil on him. That is not the one. God has not said to, He said, I rejected him. He's not the one. God looked at David's heart.
Right.
And we've got to look at a man's heart, not his wallet, not his car, not the way his six-pack.
And definitely not the words that are coming out of his mouth that's not backed up by action.
Exactly. Not his curly hair. None of that. We've got to look at his heart, which means his actions. How he treats you, how he treats everyone else. King David was the man that God chose. And when King David was blessed, the people in his sphere were blessed. They had a good life when King David had a good life. He wasn't selfish. He didn't hoard everything. That's what the daughters of God have got to learn, who to choose, the right one to choose. And this book, along with the Bible, helps you make a sound decision and a good choice.
Wonderful. Well, that ends our session for today on chapter 8, and we look forward to seeing you in chapter 9. All right.